While Europe is known for its rich history and religious sites, the United States also boasts plenty of sacred landmarks worth visiting. Let's visit few beautiful churches in America, including cathedrals and basilicas. The Basilica of St. Mary is a Roman Catholic minor basilica located on its own city block along Hennepin Avenue, between 16th and 17th Streets in downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was the first basilica established in the United States. The Basilica of St. Mary is the co-cathedral of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis. San Fernando Cathedral, also called the Cathedral of Our Lady of Candelaria and Guadalupe, is a cathedral of the Roman Catholic Church located in downtown San Antonio, Texas, USA, facing the city's main plaza. It is the mother church of the Archdiocese of San Antonio and the seat of its archbishop. Its dome serves as the city of San Antonio's cultural and geographical center. The cathedral is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is notable as one of the oldest cathedrals in the United States. On September 13, 1987, Pope John Paul II visited the cathedral during the only papal visit to Texas. The cathedral remains at the heart of Catholic religious life of San Antonio, and this includes involvement in annual events such as the Fiesta Week. Over 5,000 participate at weekend masses each week of the year. Over 900 baptisms, 100 weddings, 100 funerals, and countless other services and special events are performed each year, most notably in the staging of the Good Friday Passion Play, which attracts thousands of visitors. The Cathedral of St. Helena is the cathedral of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Helena, Montana. Modeled by architect A.O. von Herbules after the Votivkirche in Vienna, Austria, the construction began on the cathedral in 1908 and held its first Mass in November 1914. Bishop John Patrick Carroll worked tirelessly to raise funds for building the cathedral and had an administrative role in management of the entire project. The cathedral sustained significant damage during the 1935 Helena earthquake, which required extensive renovations. The cathedral was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1980. The cathedral's most prominent feature is its 230-meter twin spires, which were directly inspired by the Votivkirche in Vienna. Adorning the spires are gold-leafed crosses that stand 3.7 meters in height. The cathedral's north tower contains 15 hand-cast bells, which represent the 15 mysteries of the Rosary. The interior of the cathedral boasts stained glass across 59 windows, which depict various scenes from the Old and New Testament. The church's limestone exterior also features 29 statues of saints and other figures. The Chapel of the Holy Cross is a Roman Catholic chapel built into the buttes of Sedona, Arizona. The chapel is under the Episcopal See of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Phoenix, and its ministry is conducted by St. John Vianney Parish, Sedona. Upon arrival, visitors walk up a ramp from the parking area to the chapel. The long, curved ramp is constructed of textured concrete. The main feature of the chapel is a 27.4 meters tall iron cross on the southwestern wall, which serves both aesthetic and structural purposes. A sculptress by the name of Marguerite Staud was inspired by the powerful image of the steel framework in the Empire State Building and other skyscrapers. Her idea for the cross was carried out by sculptor Keith Monroe, from San Francisco. The cross holds both the altar and corpus on the interior. The chapel seats up to 150 people. The confessional, office, 2 sacristies and services are located in the basement of the building. The Memorial Presbyterian Church is a historic church constructed in St. Augustin, Florida, in 1889 by American industrialist Henry Morrison Flagler. It is located at 32 Sevilla Street. It was dedicated to the memory of his daughter Jenny Louise Benedict, who died following complications from childbirth at sea in March 1889. Flagler was a lifelong member of the Presbyterian Church, and upon his daughter's death chose a plot of land on the corner of Sevilla and Valencia Streets, which was very near his hotels, to construct a new church building for the Presbyterian congregation in St. Augustin, the first in Florida. The building, the land it sits on, and the parsonage at the time were all donated to the Presbyterian Church. In 2012, CNN included Memorial Presbyterian in a list of one of the top 8 religious wonders to visit in the United States. Mission San Xavier del Bac is a historic Spanish Catholic mission located about 16 kilometers south of downtown Tucson, Arizona, on the Tejano O'odham Nation San Xavier Indian Reservation. The mission was founded in 1692 by Padre Eusebio Quino in the center of a centuries-old settlement of the Sobepuri O'odham, a branch of the Acamel, or River O'odham located along the banks of the Santa Cruz River. The mission was named for Francis Xavier, a Christian missionary and co-founder of the Society of Jesus in Europe. The original church was built to the north of the present Franciscan Church. This northern church or churches served the mission until it was razed during an Apache raid in 1770. The mission that survives today was built between 1783 and 1797, which makes it the oldest European structure in Arizona. An outstanding example of Spanish colonial architecture in the United States, the Mission San Xavier del Bac hosts some 200,000 visitors each year. It is a well-known pilgrimage site, with thousands visiting each year on foot and on horseback, some among ceremonial cavalcades or cabalgatas. The Cathedral Basilica of St. Louis, King of France, also called St. Louis Cathedral, is the seat of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of New Orleans and is the oldest cathedral in continuous use in the United States. It is dedicated to St. Louis, also known as King Louis IX of France. The first church on the site was built in 1718. The third, under the Spanish rule, built in 1789, was raised to cathedral rank in 1793. The original St. Louis Cathedral was burned during the Great Fire of 1788, and was expanded and largely rebuilt and completed in 1850, with little of the 1789 structure remaining. St. Louis Cathedral is in the French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana, United States, on the Place John Paul II, a promenade section of Chartres Street that runs for 1 block between St. Peter Street on the upriver boundary and St. Anne Street on the downriver boundary. It is located next to Jackson Square and facing the Mississippi River in the heart of New Orleans, situated between the historic buildings of the Cabildo and the Presbyterian. St. Patrick's Cathedral is a decorated neo-Gothic Catholic cathedral in Manhattan, with the primary structure erected between 1858 and 1878. A prominent landmark of New York City, it is the seat of the Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of New York, as well as a parish church, located on the east side of 5th Avenue between 50th and 51st Streets in Midtown Manhattan, directly across the street from Rockefeller Center, facing the Atlas statue and the International Building. It is considered one of the most visible symbols of the Catholic Church in the United States. St. Patrick's Cathedral is the largest, decorated neo-Gothic style, Catholic cathedral in North America. The cathedral, which can accommodate 3,000 people, is built of brick clad in marble, quarried in Massachusetts and New York. The main block of the cathedral is made of Tucumel marble. It takes up a whole city block, between 50th and 51st Streets, and between Madison and 5th Avenues. At the transepts, it is 53 meters wide and 101.2 meters long. The spires rise 100.6 meters from street level. The slate for the roof came from Monson, Maine. St. Phillips Church is an historic church at 142 Church Street in Charleston, South Carolina. Its National Historic Landmark description states, built in 1836, this stuccoed brick church features an imposing tower designed in the Wren Gibbs tradition. 3 Tuscan pediment porticos contribute to this design to make a building of the highest quality and sophistication. On November 7, 1973, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places and designated a National Historic Landmark. The Tower of St. Phillips served for many years as the rear tower of a set of range lighthouses serving to guide mariners into Charleston's harbor, the front tower of the range was located on Fort Sumter. Trinity Church in the city of Boston, located in the Back Bay of Boston, Massachusetts, is a parish of the Episcopal Diocese of Massachusetts. The congregation, currently standing at approximately 4,000 households, was founded in 1733. 5 services are offered each Sunday, and weekday services are offered 3 times a week from September through June. Within the spectrum of worship styles in the Anglican tradition, Trinity Church has historically been considered a broad church parish. In addition to worship, the parish is actively involved in service to the community, pastoral care, programs for children and teenagers, and Christian education for all ages. The church is home to several high-level choirs. Trinity Church is a historic parish church in the Episcopal Diocese of New York, at the intersection of Wall Street and Broadway in the financial district of Lower Manhattan in New York City. Known for its history, location, architecture, and endowment, Trinity is a traditional high church, with an active parish centered around the Episcopal Church and the worldwide Anglican Communion in missionary, outreach, and fellowship. The Cathedral Church of St. Peter and St. Paul in the City and Diocese of Washington, commonly known as Washington National Cathedral, is an American cathedral of the Episcopal Church. The cathedral is located in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. The structure is of neo-Gothic design closely modeled on English Gothic style of the late 14th century. It is the 3rd largest church building in the United States, and the 4th tallest structure in Washington, D.C. The cathedral is the seat of both the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church and the bishop of the Diocese of Washington. Over 270,000 people visit the structure annually. The Protestant Episcopal Cathedral Foundation, under the first 7 bishops of Washington, erected the cathedral under a charter passed by the United States Congress on January 6, 1893. Construction began on September 29, 1907, when the foundation stone was laid in the presence of President Theodore Roosevelt and a crowd of more than 20,000, and ended 83 years later when the final finial was placed in the presence of President George H.W. Bush in 1990. The cathedral stands at Massachusetts and Wisconsin Avenues in the northwest quadrant of Washington. It is an associate member of the recently organized interdenominational Washington Theological Consortium. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. In 2007, it was ranked 3rd on the list of America's favorite architecture by the American Institute of Architects. The cathedral's final design shows a mix of influences from the various Gothic architectural styles of the Middle Ages, identifiable in its pointed arches, flying buttresses, a variety of ceiling vaulting, stained glass windows, and carved decorations in stone, and by its 3 similar towers, 2 on the west front and 1 surmounting the crossing. Most of the building is constructed using a buff-colored Indiana limestone over a traditional masonry core. Structural, load-bearing steel is limited to the roof's trusses. Concrete is used significantly in the support structures for bells of the central tower and the floors in the west towers.